Class 1 Introduction. My biggest takeaway was the definition of happiness that we learned, and also to be aware of being caught in the unhappy job trap, which is something that I'm really good at but that I don't love. Class 2 Positive Psychology. My biggest takeaway was the difference between the Duchenne smile and the Pan Am smile, and the happiness formula, which tells us that our life circumstances have very little to do with our own personal happiness. Class 3 Flourishing taught me that my signature strengths are found in the courage category, the humanity and love category, and the transcendence category, and that I should use my signature strengths to make myself happier and help those around me. Class 4 Achieving Authentic Happiness taught me that we can use gratitude and forgiveness to change our view of the past, and also that we can respond to people actively and constructively to help build them up. Class 5 How of Happiness. My biggest takeaway were the happiness myths, because I partly believed in some of them, and also the importance of savoring, mindfulness, gratification, and optimal spacing of pleasures. Class 6 Perma, Positivity, and Love. My biggest takeaway was the Losada ratio, that we should have 3 positive thoughts for every 1 negative thought, and that love is the supreme emotion because any other emotion can be transformed in an instance of love. Class 7 Perma, Flow. In this class, my biggest takeaway were the flow experiences and how we can have them with concentration, a clear goal in mind, a sense of control, a transformation of time, and a lot of focus. Class 8 Perma, Meaning and Achievement. I thought that the study between the people that exercised hedonia and the people that exercised eudaimonia were really interesting, and how the people that increased their pleasure principle weren't happier in the long run. Class 9 Happiest Places. My biggest takeaway was that the definition of thriving is anyone that is above an 8 on a 10-point scale and that believes they'll be happier in the next 5 years, and also the inclusive design aspect of designing for all circumstances. Chapter 10 Why We Do What We Do. My biggest takeaway was the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and how we should have choice and not be controlling and not be pressuring to have an intrinsic experience. Class 11 Self-Determination Theory. I learned about autonomy, competence, and relatedness, and how those are our basic psychological needs. And I thought it was really interesting that relatedness is all about connecting to other people around us. Class 12 Time Famine. I thought it was really interesting, the idea of a time thief, because I was able to recognize in myself that my phone is a time thief, and also that I do a lot of time deepening, which I should decrease. Class 13 Take Back Your Time. We learned about how children are often overscheduled, and this is because of their media use and organized sports and the increase in childhood obesity, and this really applies to my life and my siblings, so that was my takeaway. Class 14 Building a Good Life in the Digital Age. We learned about our dependence on technology as a society and the internet addiction disorder, our need for external validation that we have when we use our phones a lot, and the different philosophers and their views. Class 15 Intentional Families. I thought that it was really interesting that rituals are always meaningful, repeated, coordinated, and the transaction, enactment, and exit phases that we should have with our family meals. Class 16 Family Rituals. The male-female problem was my biggest takeaway, that men are more committed during the courtship than during marriage. They stop putting in as much effort, and for women it's the opposite. And also that married couples need to talk more. Class 17 Last Child in the Woods. My biggest takeaway was that the amount of free time that children have has decreased by 9 hours, and also that spending time in nature can decrease the symptoms of ADHD. Class 18 Experience Economy and Experience Staging. I loved this class because I learned about how to stage events using theme and engaging in all of the 5 senses to make an experience truly memorable for the people involved. Class 19 Fostering Empathy really taught me about self-justification and self-betrayal, and I've taught this concept to many of my friends and family because it is true that we self-betray and then we feel the need to justify our actions. Class 20 Design Thinking. This class taught me about the basic design principles, which are understand, observe, visualize, evaluate, and redefine. So now I would like to apply that to the way that I design events and the way that I think about things. Class 21 Designing Your Life Introduction. I thought that the gravity problems and the anchor problems were really interesting and gave me something to think about as I created my life plan. And also that life should be creative and with the possibility of surprises. Class 22, Designing Your Life, Wayfinding and Odyssey Plans. I found that the mind mapping creative solutions really worked for me, and that's something that I want to apply in the future. Also, how wayfinding is the art of finding out where you're going when you don't know the destination. Class 23, Designing Your Life, Prototyping. I enjoyed the life design interviews because the whole process of prototyping is to experience something without over-investing in it. And so I'm going to apply that to my future life as I try to find a job I love. Class 24, Designing Your Life and Choosing Happiness. I thought that it was interesting that many reversal choices lead us to be less happy, and also too many options lead us to be less happy. So we need to make a decision and then move on and don't look back.